p.m. Turn the mics back on. Time is 7 p.m. I will call the Common Council meeting to order. Could we have roll call, please?
Here.
Gallops.
Here.
Bernard.
Here.
Gotsky.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Flitt.
Here.
Have a quorum.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I am Reverend Jeffrey Dodson at First Congregational Church. Please be with me in the spirit of prayer. Gracious God, be with us tonight as we gather and go about the good work of this community. Be with our leaders as they listen for your wisdom in our conversations and seek your grace in the decisions that will take place tonight. Be with our mayor, aldermen and women, and city staff. Guide their hearts and strengthen their resolve to do the best for our community. Be with our people, the citizens of Ripon, who share their resources, thoughts, time, and talent to make Ripon all that it can be. Give us courage to speak what is on our hearts and humility to collaborate with one another as we dream and work together, making Ripon the vibrant city we love and call home. Our hearts feel proud this week as our youth and young adults celebrate victories that represent well our community. For the Ripon High School volleyball team who won their regional championships, and for the Ripon College football team who won their grand opening game at Hop Stadium over their undefeated opponent. Be with our youth and their mentors, and with our youth programs, including our clubs, other sports and activities that promote perseverance, teamwork, health, dedication, growth, and good citizenship on and off the field. When youth succeed, our community succeeds. Let us this evening endeavor to love kindness, do justice, and walk humbly with you, our Creator. Watch over the city, we pray. In Christ's name, amen.
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 All right, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Doug, seconded by Jolene. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in
Aye.
opposed? That is approved. Oh, public comment today. First up, we have Envision Greater Fond du Lac would like to make a presentation. We have Joe, Lisa, and Jeff representing Envision.
I'll stay till Lisa's done.
I'm not going to be that windy, I promise. This is live. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you for the opportunity to inform you on some of the work we've done so far this year. I appreciate it. I know you guys don't always hear from us as often as you might like, and we are making a promise to do better with that communication moving forward, so we appreciate it. I started with Envision in March of 2016, so I've been there roughly 7.5 years. Started on the workforce programming side and was lured over to the economic development side of the house by Jim Cleveland, who was an amazing mentor to me. And now Jim has moved on, and we had a vice president for a short time who has also moved on. It was not a good fit, and I am acting as interim vice president of economic development with the intention of that becoming a permanent assignment. So I work with a team of 3 other professionals in economic development. We have a director of small business and entrepreneurship, Raina Lyman, who's a phenomenal, just a firecracker, very business and entrepreneurship. She has worked with, let's see, we have 5 separate entrepreneurs from the Ripon area that she's had technical assistance with and provided guidance and services to them.
Who are they?
Let's see. So I have the industries. We always don't list the name right away, just out of consideration for them.
And that is in the last calendar year or in this year?
Correct. I can tell you that one is a restaurant/food truck. There's a tanning salon, a roofing/construction company, party supply rental, and a brewery. So 4 of those 5 businesses to the Ripon area. So she has been holding office hours, Raina has, in the city of Ripon every other Friday. So 60 hours to date that she's been on hand. Correct.
60.
Yes. Yep. And she is always available, whether it's in person, by phone, Zoom. She's made herself very available and present, and she wants to be seen and wants people to know that. In May, she collaborated on an event with Ignite Ripon, and she attended, as well as Dan Brosman from the SBDC also attended, and they were able to talk about all the different resources available to entrepreneurs, both, Ripon and throughout. For Ripon area small businesses for the Main Street Bounce Back Grants, which leveraged $30,000. Ripon was offered a seat at the table for the Ignite Network, which is a county-wide gathering place for multiple parties who interact with the network, and we'd love to see Ripon become more engaged in this. I know Jason Mansmith used to sit on that committee, and then once Mandy was hired, the invitation was extended to Mandy as well. So we've not seen her a whole lot. I know she's busy. She's got a lot on her plate as well, but that opportunity is still out there for her, should she want to take us up on that. There's also a microloan available to entrepreneurs in the city of Ripon that is a very low barrier to entry. So oftentimes, startups have a hard time getting cash to start their endeavor. So this would be a loan that would be fairly easy.
How many have you given to Ripon businesses?
None to date.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So also on our team, we have Sarah, 20 plus years of experience on the federal side of the house as well, and as a planner, as a city planner. And she has taken on the BRE, the Business Retention and Expansion Program, of any successful economic development entity. We want to be out there and know what the pulse is of our business community. We don't want to be surprised when someone says they're closing up shop and leaving. We want to know, oh, okay, you're going to expand. Great. We have advantage of, and we'd love to help you with that. So we want all those tools and all those resources at their fingertips, and we want them to know that they have access to them. And that's part of the BRE program. So we've completed 7 so far in Ripon this year. That includes Casual Living Outfitters, Ernesti Organics, Fiddler Creek, Flash Trucking, Knuth Brewing, MSI Express, and SC Machining and Manufacturing. So that has been well received, and we've got good lines of communications open with those businesses. So also, FCCR, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with that acronym, Fond du Lac County Capital Resources. That is another resource and tool that anyone in the county has access to. And that is funded through sales tax. So not property tax, as I think has been the misnomer, but it's funded through sales tax throughout the county. So anyone coming into the county to spend dollars, part of that goes into a fund. And so that's open to all the businesses in the county, which it's pretty popular and it's used pretty frequently. Past recipients of low-interest funding in Ripon include Alliance Laundry, Ernesti Farms, and you guys, the city of Ripon. So we also administered 4 COVID assistance loans in, with an end user before, pardon, yes?
What do you mean by partner with incentives? Did you provide some cash?
Sure, so the low-interest loans that I was speaking of.
So they took advantage of that
They did,
from you guys?
yes,
And what's the interest rate to make it low interest?
4%,
4%.
yes. Good question, thank you. So we've also facilitated economic impact studies, and that's in Sarah's scope of work, for Mercury Marine and SSM Health. And those 2 entities combined have a $6.3 billion annual impact to the region. And that's important to note because SSM is in your community as well. So both of those entities have a huge impact on the county. We also promote the Ripon Industrial Park. That's on our website, and I receive requests for proposals from a variety of entities up and down the valley, and I'm always able to promote business parks that have space, and I always do so. Whenever I have an inquiry, I can list more than one park. Sometimes I'll do 3 or 4 if I'm able, but it depends on what the end user's looking for. A lot of times it is a good chunk of land. It's usually 100 acres. It could be a massive facility. Sometimes capital expenditures exceed 30 million, 50 million. I just received another large one today, and we might maybe have one park that could facilitate that big of a lift. And considering what the use is, when we have those types of requests that come through, and we track those as well. So the last thing I'll leave you with are workforce initiatives. We understand that employers are having a hard time right now finding workforce. That's been that way for a while. It's probably not going to get any better. So we like to make sure we showcase area businesses, whether that's through programming like Project Grill. Anybody in the room familiar with Project Grill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I work with it.
Yes,
as a
yeah.
counselor.
So that, just a phenomenal program, and Ripon took second place this past May, actually. They are partnered with a manufacturer. They design and build a functioning grill, and they do this with an end user in mind, which is pretty cool. At the very end of the program, the culmination of this all the teams get together, they have an unveiling, and then everybody gets to vote on their choice for first and second place. And it was, from what I heard, very, very close, but Ripon took second place and just did an incredible job. But those students get to tour all the different manufacturing partners that are part of this program. That's a huge opportunity for them. They get to go into those businesses and see, oh, okay, well, I've heard of this company, maybe didn't know what they made or what they did, and are able to really explore and learn about different career opportunities. So that's one of the programs we like to work with Ripon on. And actually, we just had the 15th year of Project Grow, so it's been going for quite a while. Also, this past Friday, Envision brought New Manufacturing Alliance, which is also referred to as NUMA, and they have a lot of efforts on various business partners. They'll bring them to high school so the individuals within the manufacturing setting can see what students are learning, what's on their curriculum, maybe what type of equipment they have access to. A lot of schools, sometimes the smaller schools, don't have as much of the current equipment that's being actually used in the workforce right now. So that's an opportunity for some of those folks to donate a lot of times. So that's been received really well. And we also have a program called Fond du Lac ROC, which is an acronym for Retention, Opportunity, Community, and Knowledge. And that's an opportunity also for all the different high schools that want to participate and be part of that consortium to send students on a tour every other week of 16 different businesses that we have. We have to put people on a waiting list. We have so many businesses that want to be part of that and have students come in because they know that's a good opportunity for them. These are kids that aren't going on to college. They're not going into the military. They're probably going to sit in mom and dad's basement for the foreseeable future and play Fortnite. So let's get them into those businesses and let them check out all that there is to offer. So that's been a really good opportunity. So with that, I will turn it over to Joe to kind of close this out here. But are there any questions for me on what I've just talked about, other than what was asked?
Does Ripon High School participate in this program?
They do with Project Grill. They've chose not to participate with the consortium. And I know we've given them resources in the past for some hiring expos and given them some tools to use for that. But yeah, they have not participated probably for 3 or 4 years.
Okay, thank you.
And I do have some handouts, so I'll start them with Jolene and just take one.
And Lisa, I will say that this is really good information, and my guess is, you hinted at that you have maybe some regrets of not coming out here before today. Do you foresee that this is something that you will put on your schedule annually?
Definitely. I mean, we'd love to be on your agenda twice a year if that's palatable for everyone. And what we'd also like to do, the colored document that you see, once I took over as interim, I wanted to create a different update for our own board, something that was a little more visually appealing and kind of told the story better. But we'd love to send you guys that on a regular basis if you'd like to see that information. There's a lot of links on that document. When you get it electronically, you can click on it and it'll take you right to a report. You can see what all the different updates are, so a lot of good information in there. And then the year-to-date document is just kind of a summary, and it's got a little deeper dive into what I've already covered, but it'll give you some dollar amounts and things like that. But yeah, we'd love the opportunity. Thank you.
And can I ask one last thing too, because I know that I'm representing the organization and I know with at the Concierge Business Week, do you work with that?
Yes.
And do we have anyone, maybe you want to share what that is? Is there any representation from Ripon at this moment, or is it open to Ripon?
It's open to the entire county, and it's a great tool, especially for, employers that have new employees coming. Most likely, they're coming with a trailing spouse. So if the spouse is not happy, odds are nobody's happy. So you want to make sure, including the employee and their trailing partner, that they're both comfortable with the community. They've had a chance to make connections, learn about all the resources, learn how to volunteer if they want. We have a volunteer fair afterwards. So it's just a great opportunity for them to hopefully become sticky and want to stay in Ripon, stay in the community, and hear about all the different opportunities that there are.
Hopefully, I think maybe Joel, you'll speak to this, but I think what we're hearing is there's a number of opportunities that you're saying are open to us in Ripon, but we're currently not participating in. And so it sounds like there's some real opportunity or a way that communication can be, better facilitated.
Correct. And I know we've tried to get Adam on some panels in the past, and he's either had a conflict in his schedule or wasn't able to make it, but, we'll keep asking. That's all we can do is ask. So, yeah, appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be more brief, and I will by sticking to a script. So, all of what Lisa just shared is just a portion of what Envision does. We tried to get the portion that's most relevant to Ripon, but there's a lot more that we do that benefits everybody in the county. Obviously, you're all part of the county. Jolene, you're also familiar with our Leadership Fond du Lac program. We didn't mention that. It's a great development tool and a great community give back, and another great opportunity.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Isn't that a fee-based program? That's not part of our membership.
No.
Okay,
no,
thank
no,
you.
It is. It's a great program that it's open to anyone based on a fee.
Oh, I'm familiar with
An annual fee.
Leadership Fond du Lac.
And it is Leadership Fond du Lac County now, I should say. And part of that program is a community give back that these teams or projects get produced by teams. And a lot of those go into community assets and things. Jolene, you could speak more in depth of it because you just graduated from the program. We also have a lot of events that bring people together. It's a lot of what I do. Networking, we're actually going to have a February business connection here at Knuth in Ripon. I'm partnering with the Ripon Chamber on that. So hoping to bring more people from around the county, from the business community around, and I hope that all of you will attend that as well. We're involved heavily in advocacy. We represent businesses and communities in Madison, at state level. Just in general, the more united we are, the louder and more influential our voice is, and we're always looking for partnerships. So we'd also like to have more engagement, like shared. We mentioned the Ignite Network. It's a great network around the county, and we do intentionally want to have someone from Ripon represented. We hold that available. We've also got a legislative forum every month. Mr. Grant, Mr. Sontag, you guys are invited to that every month. We'd love to have you take advantage of that. I know it's at a certain time, and it's not a big commitment, but it's a great place to interface with other public officials, state and federal representatives.
That's a question. So,
Yeah.
but all this, that's not economic development per se. You're talking about, like, it feels like more of a chamber thing.
Yeah, it's kind of blurry lines.
So it's like, we're not paying for the chamber stuff, we're paying for economic development in this community. That's
Sure.
what we're paying for.
You're paying for Envision, and that's what I'm trying to present on Envision. But yes, you're.
But we're really, no offense to anybody in this room, I don't really care about the stuff that's the soft leadership chamber stuff. I'm looking to find out what you guys are doing economically to develop this community, whether it's working with a company to add jobs or starting something. That's what I want to hear about. That's what I believe we're paying that money for.
Sure.
So I need it to be justified and that you're working on stuff in the last year or two.
Yeah. That's what Lisa just shared with you, is our work in that. So that's why I said, mine is going to be a lot more brief here. I'm just trying to cover a fuller picture of what Envision is, and I don't have much to go.
Okay.
That's really her. That's why Lisa's our VP for Economic Development, and up until today, for the last 3 months, I was our interim president, because our boss is on maternity leave. So today I'm back to just the VP.
But going back to what you just shared, what prompted that question, you've been to these, the forum that you just talked about. What prompted this question?
Legislative forum?
And you said it's a fine line. Have you found that there is value economic to find out about what the legislative forum shares?
Absolutely.
I mean, can you speak more to why do you bring it up related? You said it's a fine
I think
line.
it's just important. You were talking about opportunities. I think it's really, we have other municipal leaders from around the county that will participate in that forum. And those municipal leaders are not necessarily chamber members, right? They're there because they're plugging into the relationships around state and federal legislation and in our public institutions. So University of Oshkosh is present, Moraine Park Technical College is present. It's a chance to network with those and to hear, and it's just one thing, but it's a great place to hear what different folks are working on and strike different partnerships. There's a lot of conversations that get traded at that table that you can bring back and make for good use of your community municipally. That's why a lot of them participate in that. So. I guess I'll get to the point. Economic development, guys, is expensive. It just is. It takes a combination of resources. It's municipal, it's county, it's private investment, and that builds capacity for programming, for strategy. That's what Envision has been built on. It's the premise that contributions add to the whole. And let me be clear, Envision doesn't do our work in Ripon, all the stuff Lisa just went through. We don't do that so we can earn $13,000 a year. It's not why we're doing it. We do this work because we believe in a thriving and prosperous Ripon, because we are serving the county and we want to see Ripon grow. And that will not change. It doesn't change. That's why we do the work we do. So I want to be clear on that. We think Ripon will benefit more from leveraging partnerships and taking a regional approach, more so than going it alone. So thank you again for having us here tonight. If we had more time, guys, there's so much more that we do. We're happy to talk about it, and we're interested in checking in with you more often. A lot of times you don't know what you don't see, and I'll own that our communication with all of our elected officials has not been great. So we have to own some of that. Credit to Jolene for talking through this idea with me, but as Lisa mentioned, we did put together a spreadsheet of all of our elected officials around the county, all your email addresses, and we would love to send you our biweekly newsletter and then more periodic updates like what you have in front of you so that you feel more plugged in. So we'll commit to sending those to you to highlight that economic development work. That's all from me. I'll take questions too. I don't know what's in proper format. Thank you.
I mean, well, so I'll just say, so just to hear from both of you, that you both have a commitment, you have a vision where you come regularly, I heard maybe twice a year at the minimum, and that you have a vision and commitment to that. Because I think what's hard is, let's just name it, so often I think Ripon, we feel forgotten from the larger county, and then specifically from Envision Greater Fond du Lac. And so let's name it, and I think what we also find is that there's things that happen that we don't realize about. You know, for example, when the BREs, the Business Retention and Expansion visits, I think I've heard that our city officials, Adam included, has not been invited to those visits. And in talking with you, I found out that sometimes that's not appropriate to invite those because you want them to feel that they can share things that are maybe more confidential in nature, and then you can be that bridge to bring it back, right? I mean, I think we need to name that we have heard presentations in the past in our history here, and promises have not been followed through. But I think what you're saying is you have a different vision. This is not you that did that, and you have a commitment to seeing a different future of a closer collaboration. Is that what I'm hearing?
Everything's based on partnership. Yeah, we appreciate the support. The financial support is great, but the work we're doing, it's like I said, it's not for that piece of money, right? It's for the impact for the greater whole. What goes just as far or further is partnership and relationship. And so we'll own our part of that. That's my desire. And so whatever communication mode makes sense, I'm very open to it. I want to hear that so that we can deliver. Thank you for inviting us tonight. We appreciate it. And we're not scared to come back. We're happy to, but I do think partnership is the key. You know, the more we can partner and communicate, the trust needs to be there, and that will benefit Ripon. And that's the ultimate goal here, because that's what we want. And I know that's what you guys want too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I have 2 points I'd like to make. As a small business owner, for 8.5 years, I was not aware that Envision Fond du Lac had any resources for my business. So thank you for coming tonight and explaining this. The second point I want to make is the former chamber exec for Ripon. I used to do economic development for the city. And I worked in partnership with Craig T-Bond to do economic development for the downtown. And we were pretty successful. We worked in partnership then with the predecessor to Envision Fond du Lac, FCEDC. And under John Raymer's leadership and later Brenda Sorensen's leadership, we had a terrific partnership. It would be, we would do footwork here in Ripon, and we made visits to existing businesses because 20% of your effort needs to go into retaining 80% of your businesses. And we did that locally. We also worked with John on those first loans to keep Alliance Laundry here. We did a lot of work together. I don't see that right now. I am a proponent of reinstating the CDA and actually giving it its statutory authority, which it never had before, as well as a budget, so that we can work with our Main Street program and we can work with the chamber on local economic development. And that means partnering with the school district. It means partnering with members of the community who can help with attraction as well as retention. And there are ways to set that up. I don't think that it would be in our best interest to sever all contact with Envision Fond du Lac, but I actually think that Ripon has the ability and the talent and the time to reconstruct a CDA and take care of business with perhaps, I don't want to say a reduced partnership with Envision Fond du Lac, but perhaps at the same level. That's it.
Jeff, did you want to make any comments?
Well, I'm Jeff Litico, Envision board member. Just to add, they talked about quite a bit of what we can do. Yes, it is a collaboration and a sharing of information and knowledge. That's what gets the job done between the county, the city, private business, all those kind of things. And economic development is just, it's not a sprint, but it's a journey. There's a lot of things that need to get done, and they don't happen overnight. Housing, childcare, workforce development, those are going to be journeys that are going to be going on for a long time. They're battles, and they're just continuing. So we've got a lot of fronts we all have to fight. And as Joe said, the partnership, together we can accomplish a lot more. I guess that probably, to leave it there, is the best I can do. Communication, we will endeavor to do better than we have. And I mean, I'm in town, I should be talking more about Envision, but I get tied up in banking and other things too. But there's ways that we can just continue to work together. I hope nothing ever has to change, that never cut off communication or partnership here at all, because together we can do a lot more than separately. I think we all know that deep down. And but whether you change our investment from 13 down to 2, or double it, or turn it down to 0, we're always going to, Envision is always going to be here, and we're always going to do our thing. When people call on us, we'll be here, and you will do your thing if you do separate altogether. I don't think you want to do that, but we'll always be around. If the city needs any assistance or support or knowledge or any kind of connection to someone that can help you move a needle, move something forward, we're here for you. So I'll stop there.
I do have a question. I don't know if this is for you or for Lisa, because she had talked about the management of the sales tax funds from the county. Are you all the TPA for that? Are you the third-party administrator for?
Sales tax? No.
For the sales tax?
No.
So do you apply to the county then, and the county board approves anything that you're requesting?
There's a process, there's a board,
Yeah.
and there's approval.
Okay.
And so FCCR, Fond du Lac County Capital Resources, is the entity, not part of Envision, it's a standalone entity.
So they're the TPA?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Yep, I got 2 questions. One is, how is the amount of money we send to Fond du Lac figured? Is there a set fee population-wise or something? And secondly, has any other cities dropped out, like the city of Fond du Lac? Have they cut the funding? Any other cities cut funding?
As far as how it is measured or what it is set at, I'll leave it to you two, unless you're not sure tonight. We may have to circle back to you on that one.
It's a per capita charge.
Per capita charge.
Okay.
Is there another community that has severed ties? Right now, there is one that, if they haven't yet, they might yet.
And who is that?
City of Fond du Lac.
Okay.
Okay. There's a different backstory with that one, okay? You can certainly say, well, look what they're doing over there. They have, their council has their independent mind, and there are issues that, at least I personally believe, go, in different places than what you are talking about here, so, but I'll stop there.
I don't know if this can be talked about tonight, but I mean, what has been proposed to us, we know right now in the proposed budget, there's a cut to what we had traditionally given to Envision Greater Fond du Lac. That's been on the table. Obviously, you are here tonight to respond to maybe we didn't really understand what was happening. And there is a desire by, that was just stated by a colleague of, reinvigorating a local, what do we call it, a committee, economic development committee for
Community Development
Ripon.
Authority.
Community development.
The CDA. Is there an opportunity, and again, offline maybe after tonight, to talk about how that could be affiliated, supported by Envision Greater Fond du Lac, but with a specific group of people that meet here, that are very Ripon-centric, but that are connected with the larger entity? I could imagine the other cities in the county might be interested. Is there something that can be talked about from here moving forward, knowing that you've heard the desire here, but also we all know, I mean, I think sometimes in my experience too, yes, we feel forgotten from the larger city of Fond du Lac, but sometimes we do it to ourselves, that Ripon folks are not engaged in the opportunities that are presented to us, as you also named tonight as well. So is there maybe conversation that could be opened regarding that, knowing where we're currently at and the desire?
And I can try to answer that, Julian, and turn it back to you two as well. And the answer is yes. I mean, that's how these bodies work the best together, is to communicate, share knowledge, try to find better outcomes, move needles in different ways, shapes, and forms by coming together and sharing resources. Things can't always be duplicated exactly as you may wish. I think I can just think about what you probably may be trying to achieve as a CDA in town alone. I'm guessing, I'm not sure, but there's staff time and time restraints on everybody's part that you can't exactly have in a perfectly envisioned-like focused body in every community, because staff and resources and geography sometimes make it not always as easy. But if ultimately that's the shape that you want Ripon to be recognized and provided a forum for, I certainly would champion that and advocate that from the board level. Exactly. I don't know why the board wouldn't listen very well to me about that. But there's resources that also cost money to be considered. I mean, if you're gonna start a CDA, and I watched your 2-hour workshop the other night, and it was a nice job done there, and a lot of time you spent, 2 hours. Adam mentioned you're gonna start the CDA, 16,000, and mentioned that Envision and with the CDA too. And that's the reality of it. The thing you want to try to avoid is not duplicating things so that you're doing the same things that we are, and then we're both spending money where we could spread our resources out better working together. But certainly your own CDA is a valid endeavor to try to pursue as well. But try to keep the linkage, I guess, what we're talking about, the collaboration, and find the use of tax dollars or other dollars and take them further, I believe.
Yeah, I could share just to Jeff on that. Ripon is not Fond du Lac. I don't think any of you want to be Fond du Lac. I think we're pretty clear on that, right? It's just very distinctly different relationships in every municipality we have. But I would point you towards other. Good example, Campbellsport as well, benefit a lot from partnerships in the division. Well, Pond does have CDA, and I have been invited to those meetings to be engaged and involved. And so that's a great partnership because we do have those lines of communication where we can say, here's what we can augment. and here's the local focus and what we're doing on the boots on the ground, and here's how we can assist at a regional level. And so it's not unheard of at all. Waupun, they have a CDA, they continue to fund Envision. In fact, we passed a resolution that called for all municipalities in the county to stay involved, because they know that when folks leave, it weakens the whole, and the resources come.
All right. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
All right. This is the Common Council District 3 vacancy. We have 3 applicants for the position, Annette Klein, Jason Kimple, and Stephen Reamer. The process tonight will be each applicant will get 3 minutes to speak, after which I'll allow a short question and answer for each candidate. We're going to draw names from the hat to see the speaking order. First name draw gets to speak first, second name second, third. I guess I'm drawing.
Just to be clear too, so the voting rules are on here. We'll have ballots, and then you have to get to 4 votes, so it's all laid out here. So if we can agree that that's the parameters, we'll move forward. But the majority, so it's got to get to 4 if that's in the first ballot. That's in the first ballot. If it takes a runoff of some sort, it is explained there. So Lud and I talked that through and put that forward.
So the order will be Annette Klein first. Where is it? Jason Kimple second, and Stephen Reamer third. So just the order that they are listed on the sheet. Convenient. All right, so Annette, if you'd like to step forward, you have 3 minutes to present yourself, and then, like I said, a short question and answer from council if there are any questions.
I think a lot of you know me, but some of you don't. My name's Annette Klein, and I live at 433 Murray Park Drive. And first of all, I want to say my extreme sadness for the reason for this process tonight with the loss of Howie. I have lived at Murray Park Drive for 51 years. I probably have this all in front of you here, I hope. I was born and raised in Ripon. I've lived here all but 5 years of my life. When we moved, I lived in Fond du Lac, way far away. I made it to Fond du Lac. And my first husband and I decided that if we wanted to raise children, we wanted to come back to Ripon. And I just love Ripon. To give you a little background of myself, I have been a small business owner. I served on the council from 1982 to 1986. I served on the first Ripon Fest Board of Directors, and I helped start the recycling program in Ripon. This is just a brief summary. I've done a lot of stuff. I ran for mayor in 1988, and if you look any place, you don't see my name, so I lost. I was not successful in that race. I was reappointed to the council in fall of 1988. I left the council of March of 1989 to work as the secretary of the Public Works Department. I was there for 22 plus years, which I just loved. I served on the Common Council again from 2012 to 2016. My life has been devoted to the city of Ripon, and I wish to continue this service. After my retirement and stuff, when I was on the council the last time, they helped me get organized, and we started the Ripon Community Gardens. We started with 8 spaces out in Riggs Park. Mayor Will was helpful in getting me that location. From the 8 spaces, it has now grown to 32 spaces 12 years later. I am the past president of the Ripon Senior Center Association, and during my tenure, we raised money to furnish all the kitchen appliances at the new Ripon Senior Center. I also belong now to the So Happy Stitchers Quilt Guild. For 25 years, we did the quilt show during Dickens of a Christmas. Now we are concentrating on charity quilts. And we have given to the Ripon Police Department and Lioness Project. This year we gave to 2 different local families in need 5 quilts each. I would love to serve again as an alderman and offer my knowledge. I'm ready to jump back in with both feet. I'm very knowledgeable, I think, of the upcoming budget process, which is probably almost done. I am very concerned, one thing, with the morale and recent revolving door at the Public Works Department, and I would like to help out with that. So thank you for your consideration of me.
Right on 5
And-
minutes. Very
Blah, blah,
good. Any questions for Annette?
I have a question, Annette. Could you, can you give us a more detailed idea of your opinion about the direction of DPW?
I don't like the direction it's going in, personally.
Can you give us a little more detail?
Of what I comment about the concern of the revolving door?
Whatever your concerns about DPW.
Well, it's been a revolving door these last few months. Somebody comes, they stay for a few months, they leave. People that have been there, we had 1 retiree, which doesn't count. But there's been 4 or 5 people left, to my knowledge, in the last year. And that's too many. What are you going to do when snow plowing time comes? You're not going to have anybody to plow. And I just feel it's a little top heavy and not enough worker bees.
Anyone else have questions? Doug?
I have a question on that. When you ran for council against Howard a year and a half ago, or whatever that was now, you wanted to bring back a full-time city engineer, is that correct?
I would have been in favor of that,
Is that
yes.
something you were still in favor of?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Julian?
And I know, I've known you for a long time. I know you have a big heart for the city. I'm wondering, can you share anything more about your guiding principles for why you want to run, or specifically your vision for the future of Ripon? You know, as far as what would guide you to make decisions, or how would you view what you want to bring and make decisions for the city?
Okay, I believe in common sense. That's how I look at things. Does it make sense, first of all? Is it something that's going to benefit the city? Or is it just an expenditure to do something that I don't consider necessary? I just care. I just care about Ripon, and I think I have the knowledge from the past and present now, even though I still watch all the meetings because I can't help myself. So I just want to participate if you want me to.
Anyone else? Thank you, Annette.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jason?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight, giving me this opportunity. I'd like to share a little bit about myself. I grew up in Fond du Lac, moved to Texas in my teenage years, lived in the Dallas area, DFW Metroplex. It's just one giant city for about 10 years. Married, divorced, moved back to Wisconsin. Ended up here in Ripon just through luck and opportunity, and I've been here for over 20 years now, and I'm proud to call this place home. In my personal life, I'm a parent. I have a 5th grader who is at Murray Park, and a special needs child who's a recent graduate last year of Ripon High School. He goes to the day services program now at Diverse Options, so I'm not going anywhere. I've spent the last 18 years being a stay-at-home parent to David. Being a parent of a child with significant needs definitely shapes my perspective on, life and advocating for families like mine in our community. I also volunteer my time in various community roles. I've served as a Cub Scout leader in Ripon's Pack 3735 for 5 years now. It's been fun, rewarding journey, watching the kids grow into caring, hardworking young individuals. I also put in a lot of time working as a tournament director for the Ripon Disc Golf Club. Since about 2015, I create multiple fundraiser events each year to help us offset the cost of course maintenance and course upgrades to keep people wanting to come back. I'm also a member of the Parks and Recreation Committee here in Ripon now. I actually worked closely with Howard on getting the disc golf redesigned and finished up this year. I'm really excited and proud to be part of the future projects that we have planned. Sorry, didn't get choked up. I believe in open and constructive dialogue, and I'm dedicated to principles like transparency and accountability and inclusivity. I'm here to collaborate and decisions that shape the future of our city. In conclusion, I'm here as a resident, a parent, and a community contributor. I'm here to work together with you to address the challenges that face our community and to contribute to the betterment of our beloved city. Thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to the journey ahead.
Thank you. Ellen?
Jason, can you share with us what direction you'd like the city to go as far as city council, say, like economic development or DPW or anything?
I actually already see a lot of things that I think we're doing good. The downtown is bustling. There's new stuff being put in. There's Knuth's expanding, and I think things are going pretty well. I'm not sure I actually have a complaint right at the moment about any particular issue. Property taxes are down. I think things are going in a pretty good direction, and I just want to make sure they stay going that way.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Tell me what you'd be passionate about. Getting on the council, what would you pick any one area that sink your teeth into?
I'm still passionate about the Parks and Rec Committee. I'm obviously already a part of that, so I'm going to continue that whether I get chosen for the council or not. So I am definitely already contributing and will continue to contribute, like I said, whether I get chosen or not.
So, my guess is obviously because of your close connection with our, beloved, may he rest in peace, Howard, that you then obviously found out. You see yourself longer term, maybe wanting to run for the open seat and you said you plan to be here.
I could definitely, I could see myself running, if it felt like I was contributing and I wanted to continue, then obviously I would love to continue.
Yeah. Because I wanted to give everyone the same chance. Ellen sort of asked it in a way, and so did my colleague, but, you said you have no complaints, but sort of your vision for what you see in the future of Ripon, you said inclusive, transparency.
Inclusivity, it's things we talk about at the Parks and Committee too, just little things like, ramps or rubber mulch instead of wood mulch, and there's a lot of little things that I guess that can be done that aren't necessarily big, that will make big differences to someone.
And you feel, because you mentioned having, children in, various ages, do you feel like you have a pretty good sense as to the community and different areas of the community? I do. And I've always felt that Ripon needed more things for our teenagers to do. That's part of getting on the Parks Committee was, to help. But I think there's probably things that could be done at the council level as well to encourage businesses or something like that that are aimed at keeping our teenagers busy and out of the basements. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Steve.
Well, thank you for listening to me today. My name is Steve. It's Jackson Street, which is in the 3rd District. I've been a resident and homeowner for 27 years, a member of the Historical Society for over 15. I'm a current member of the Historic Preservation Commission, and I was on there for 10 years before. I was also a chair for that committee and also the downtown manual and many other area improvements with Speed Queen and, well, Alliance now, but other big businesses in town. A former member of the Ripon Transportation Commission and a former member of the Chamber of Commerce, and I served as president for 1 year.
He hired me.
That's right. Anyway, and I was a former member of the tourism board for the city of Ripon and also for Green Lake Country. I'm semi-retired, but my wife calls me retired now. I've been a small business owner for over 30 years. I had a drywall plaster company, which I still do some of that stuff yet, but I formerly owned Ripon Skateland, and I've had employees in the past, so I understand business as far as your city and how things, or my city, as far as employment goes. Prior to that, well, I didn't want to get too far in the past, but I did work for a contractor that used to do roads and things like that, so I understand the work situation as far as snow plowing and building roads and that kind of stuff, because I did that for years in another community. And that was for the Village of Wales and for the town of Ottawa and southern Wisconsin. That's where I grew up, in that area. I worked also for Alliance for 5 years doing welding. And so I understand big business and I understand small business because I was involved with that for my life.
And that's your 3 minutes.
Okay, I guess I'm out of luck. Yes.
I have a question, Steve. Sure. The Historic, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, the Historic Preservation Committee cannot have 3 city council members on it. Would you be willing to give up that seat on the Historic Preservation?
If that's the way people want it, I would.
I think that's kind of the rule.
Yes.
It is.
Okay, well,
We would have to come up with.
that's not a problem. And like I say,
Okay.
my passion would probably be on the Plan Commission if you have that, or anywhere else I can handle. Any other commission that would be given to me. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got one.
Yes.
How do you see the direction of the city going? Is it going in a good trajectory? Do you think we're off course? Do you think that we need to go back to the time-tested ways of the past? What do you think?
We learn from the past and we move on to the future. We have to look forward in this community. Our community is doing really great right now as far as you look at the businesses in town and you understand the people. And I'm a people person, so I talk to a lot of people. And I listen a lot and I understand where they're going. And I think the Ripon City right now is on the right track. And I know we saw a nasty gram in the paper about the water bills going up, but you have to understand that if we don't do improvements, we're going to have a lot of problems in the future. And that's where I look at. I look at future planning for this city, and obviously, since I moved up here, the city hasn't grown much, as far as population goes, but the people that stay here are really committed. So it's a good plus thing all the way around. If I can contribute to this group, that'd be great. I'd be more than happy. Anything else? I hope I answered your question.
Anyone else?
That was a question I want to make sure I asked everyone since I asked, but I just want to say, Steve, I've seen you at so much in this community. You've given so much, and the fact that you're stepping up in this way, I'm just so grateful to have you in this community, and I know that you'll continue to contribute in many ways, no matter how this goes tonight.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for Howard. I mean, that was a big loss for this group, and I understand that. And the only reason I haven't run for common council before is because everybody that's run in the past has been great. I mean, don't reinvent the wheel, So that's one of the reasons I haven't done it in the past, because I've thought of it often. Mayor Summers talked to me about it many years ago. So, and let's face it, at that time I was too busy and I had too much on my plate. So, anything else?
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now Naomi's going to take over.
You have to put your own name. Please write your name. This is not.
Just so it's clear, this is not a secret ballot. This is just simply historically how we've done this.
And don't vote for yourself.
You have to put your name on, so it will be identified as part of the official vote. It's just how we've done it.
Or are you folding it? What difference does it make?
Point of order.
Yes.
Remind me when the selection gets sworn in. Is it the next meeting?
They swear in at or before the next meeting.
Okay.
They are seated at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Ready?
Sure.
All right. Terry Grunert, voted for Steve Reimer.
Reamer.
Reimers.
All right, before you, excuse me.
Jonathan Gatsky, Jason Kempel. Dave Gallups, Steve, I'm just going to say Steve. Doug Iverson, Steve. Jolene Schatzinger. I didn't say that right either, did I?
You did, Schatzinger. Good.
Jason. John Split, Steve. Ellen Sorensen, Jason. Steve has 4, Jason has 3. That's none.
All right. Congratulations, Steve, and to the other two, thank you very much for applying, and I hope to hear more from you in the future. Again, congratulations, Steve. All right. Next up is pay application number 1 for well chemical feed project. This is in the amount of $95,346.87 to Mid-City Corporation.
I move we pay $95,346.87 to Mid-City Corporation for the well chemical feed OCCT project.
Second.
Been moved by Ellen, seconded by John. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving pay application number 1 for the well chemical feed project, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next is pay application number 1 for Murray Park Trails. This is for $51,543.29 with Northeast Asphalt.
I'll make a motion that we approve the pay application number 1 for the Murray Park Trails project totaling $51,543.29 to Northeast Asphalt.
I'll second.
Been moved by Doug, seconded by David. Any discussion?
Yeah. Did somebody inspect it? Like DPW, Alan inspected, or?
Yeah, so Dan Romer from MSA is here, so we did have some areas where they had to go back and repave because they got a little thin on their asphalt, so that's all been done. But yeah, it's been inspected. It's MSA's been there to review the work as well as our Public Works Department.
That Adam hit it basically on the head. For those of you who don't know me, Dan Romer, not to be confused with Steve, which is funny because it is my father's name, but we'll move on from there. So yeah, Murray Park, we did find some deficiencies in the pavement. We came back, basically it was just too thin for what we expect. Came back, we agreed to an appropriate amount that needed to be reworked there. I don't foresee any long-term issues. There will be a couple joints in the asphalt, but that's only on the surface layer, so I don't see any long-term issues or anything really resulting in it. We were not out there full-time. We were out there when they were paving, and we kind of had a hard time with that because they rearranged their schedule about 8 times because they were having issues with their paver. So we were out there for part-time inspection. So that's kind of where we're at, and I believe Adam and Alan have both been on the same page with that project. So.
Is there some kind of warranty, a year?
Yep, there's a year warranty on pretty much any project that I guess I typically write the specs for. That's our standard. So we will do an 11-month warranty, and if there's some sort of issue, so basically we'll go back out there next September, October timeframe. We have not signed the certificate of substantial completion. That starts the 1-year warranty. So we will be out there and inspecting it, and there will be work done in the spring, I would assume, with the restoration and things like that. So the contractor's not done. We have not paid them in full, so there is some more work to be done. I would expect another pay application probably this year yet, but we will hold retainage to make sure that all this stuff is taken care of properly. So,
thank you.
So to be clear, that what they had to come back and do better on, we didn't get charged for that.
No. So there was one part. So essentially, what the difference was, they came back, and so there were areas where we spec'd 3 inches of asphalt. There was areas where there was 1.5 to 2 inches. So what they ended up doing was basically they grinded up a little bit and then paved over the top of that. So any of the additional asphalt was paid for because that would have been paid for had they originally paved the 3 inches. So there was a small difference that we took out from that for the additional areas that they had to remove. So they did not get paid for that. But other than that, had they paved it at the 3-inch depth that they were supposed to in the beginning, that would have originally been paid for. So that is what the city is paying for, is making it essentially what it was supposed to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. But there was no overages or really anything on that. So.
Is it a concern for for who we worked with that they didn't?
We handled it with them. It just, they were having issues with their paver. We didn't pay for full-time observations. We didn't have somebody sitting there from MSA watching every bit. So that's because the scope of the project just, doesn't necessarily warrant that. And Northeast Asphalt generally doesn't have these types of issues. When we worked with them and came to a conclusion that there were issues, like I said, we worked with them, and at no additional cost, they came back to rectify the situation. So.
And the last question, just because the public is, if they're curious about this, that trail, did we figure out that people are not supposed to park on that, right? And that it'll be, wasn't there some concern about this? Do we want to state anything? So the public listening?
We continue to invest in that area,
So we will make additions to the park area to prevent parking on the trail. We ask that people don't park on the trail now that it's paved. So in the past, we've looked the other way. Moving forward with the pavement, no, we will not do that anymore, so please. And we will take steps to make sure it doesn't happen.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
I got a couple more here, so I'll just wait.
Sure.
There's about 4 or 5 here,
Okay.
so
Well, thank you on this topic. Any further question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving pay application number 1 for Murray Park Trails, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. Next is pay applications number 2 and 3 for the State Street project. First in the amount of $104,321.23, and the second for $258,467.47 with RLAM.
I'd like to make a motion to approve pay applications number 2, number 3 for the State Street project. First one totaling $104,321.23, and the second one, second one is $104,321.23. The third one is $258,467.47 for RLAM. Got that right?
Been moved by Doug, seconded by John. Any discussion on that one?
Can you briefly explain the change orders?
Well,
That's the next one. That's a different motion.
Next one.
We're in 4.
I went to the wrong page. Sorry.
Could we just get an update on timeline of that bridge
certainly.
or project?
As of now, the plan is to get the project done this year. There have been some delays from the contractor in getting that box culvert that was to replace that bridge. They are planning to pour some concrete for the aprons on Wednesday this week, obviously barring decent weather. And that, for the most part, will complete the box culverts. They're trying to get that taken care of so that that can cure, and then they can do some of the stream restoration, get the temporary ditch taken out. That's been in there for quite a while. And then once that is taken care of, then once that temporary ditch is taken out, hopefully, again, all right, assuming that they get the concrete poured, we're recommending at least 3 days of cure time on that concrete so that they don't ruin it, hopefully. They're going to be putting some riprap and doing, like I said, some work down there. So getting some cure time on that concrete is critical. And then coming back, there's a little bit of storm sewer to finish up, and then concrete sidewalk and curb and gutter should be soon to follow once that is taken care of. So the road's been excavated. So within the next probably 2 weeks, I think you're going to see quite a bit of movement out there. There may be 2 or 3 contractors working out there at one time. But as of right now, I talked to them this morning, sorry, today is Monday. And that is the plan, is to finish that project. It will be a quick turnaround in the next 3-4 weeks, so. The one thing that may not be done this year is the additional railing request, because they have to get those box culverts in, and then they have to fabricate them, but they may be able to get those in during colder weather, so. Any other questions on State Street?
I understand that the next one is on change order, but,
Yep.
so then I questioned myself when I was corrected by my colleagues, but I see a change order of $12,959 that is under what we're currently voting, under request payment number 2, the $104,321. I guess I was wondering, can you explain what that is?
So the change order 1 is the railing that I had just mentioned. That was at the beginning of the project. We were going to put in a chain link fence along the south side. And at the request of the council, we went back to the contractor, and that change order 1 is for more of a tri-rail railing rather than a chain link fence. So that's what that 12,000 is. We have not paid that 12,000.
But it was approved months ago.
It was approved months ago, correct. So it's still in the works. They're not going to get paid until they come out and do that. So essentially, that's going to be a net increase on the overall project. But again, the chain link fence, I believe, was about $5,000. So there'd be about a $7,000 increase on that because of that request.
Sure.
The weather has seemed to have played a little havoc on, it's Eureka, isn't it? The street that goes in front of the Wilmore Center and all that?
Union,
excuse me. Anyways, it's played a little bit of a havoc in there where they tied in the utilities. Is there any way we can?
We're monitoring that daily. Alan is in constant communication with RLAM. A lot of times it's happening over the weekend. They've accommodated requests to come in and address it over the weekend. But hopefully it'll be all tied up here and tidy in the next couple weeks. So.
It's a mess.
Any other questions on this one? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving pay applications number 2 and 3 for the State Street project, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Next is the change order number 2 for the State Street project. This is in the amount of $34,155.40. I believe again to RLAM, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
I have a question, and the reason I voted against the change in the railing was because it was so early in the project, and I was concerned about additional change orders. How is the budget set up to accommodate a change order of $34,000?
I mean, it'll be split between the funds funding the project. So we generally put in a contingency in any budget. So we're well within that contingency on the overall project scope. We did also borrow a portion for these funds, so it could be covered partially, or for this project, so it could be covered partially by that. This one is not a change order by choice. This is a change order by circumstance, and it's for a lot of fill and additional utility work. The reason I believe the intersection is tore up a little bit more than what we had originally intended was because we had to go back into it further to make proper connections, as well as then the fill some areas where poor soil conditions. That's a common thing here. We did do core sampling on a lot of the road, but there are certainly areas we don't do that, and we run into soft soil that has to be replaced.
As long as we're within contingency, I'm cool.
John?
Was the majority for the utility work or for the fill, you know?
It was pretty close. It was $18,646.50 for the fill. So that leaves 13 and change for the utility work. I believe that there is a breakdown. If you look at the bullet, I don't know if you have the change order on hand.
Yeah, we do.
There's bullet point number 1 that states the 18,000, and then the second page was 15,500. So pretty close to, pretty even, I guess.
I move that we approve the change order totaling $34,155.40 for imported granular fill and additional utility work.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Alan, seconded by Doug. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving change order number 2 to the State Street project, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? As approved. Next is the engineering PSA for St. Wenceslas Street reconstruction.
Last one. Well, last one I know of it. I guess I'll keep this one short unless there's questions. I guess this is for the design and construction services for St. Wenceslas. Adam came to me, asked me to put some numbers together. It will include water, sewer, storm, sidewalks, curb and gutter, kind of the full spectrum of reconstruction. This again is for the design bidding, construction administration, and construction observation, which the contract is set up in two different ways, where the design and the construction administration is a lump sum item, whereas construction observation, as Adam mentioned in previous projects we've done, variations of inspection depending on the type of work that's being done. So that 58,000 is a loose 58,000. We try to stick to that budget, obviously, but depending on contractors and other things, that number may fluctuate slightly. So I guess the one thing that I would say is, you can see our approximate start date here is October 2023. Obviously, or September 2023, I apologize. So we're pushed back about a month. I don't foresee that being any sort of major issues. I still would anticipate bidding this close to that February, March timeframe. Maybe the award gets pushed back to the April meeting. It's not an overwhelmingly sized project. We don't have something, a big box culvert like State Street that may change the schedule. It's a pretty, it's going to have its challenges, but as far as utilities go, I don't think there's anything extremely major along that street. So I still would foresee completion in 2024.
I have a question. This is kind of for Adam, but are we going to be in contact with the school district? Is this going to be completed before the football season begins, or?
Yeah, that's sort of the reason why we're pushing this forward. Generally speaking, we'd wait a little bit longer and make sure the budget's done. This has been a planned project in the budget. I will make the announcement. Alan and I worked on an LRIP grant from the county and we've been awarded those funds. So about $52,000 grant will help with the project. It's a small portion of the overall project, but this project has been on the docket for many years. MSA has worked on some preliminary design for grants and things of that nature before. So it's sort of picking up everything. So we will coordinate this with the school district. I've already had conversations with Mary Whitrock about their plans, because there's some things they want to do in the area as well. So it kind of fits with their timeline, and ultimately our goal is to have it cleaned up and certainly done by the school year. That's the push. If there's a football game that we interrupt, I apologize, but the end result will be a nice road. So we'll work to keep that schedule and work with our partners at the school district to collaborate on some of the plans within the project.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Some of those timeframes can be adjusted in the contract and things like that. Obviously, the tighter window that you give a contractor, maybe less interest or less competitive it gets. But if you try to get this job done between July and beginning of September, it's going to be tough. So I understand with the school there, the football stadium, things like that. And then that's obviously a conversation that we can have down the road as well, to accommodate what the
There's another stadium in town now too. Maybe they.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, but they got football and soccer too.
I know.
And that's what our problem is over at Ingles Field, is soccer starts in August and so does football.
And access will be maintained through there. Obviously it'll be limited. There might be more on Sullivan to the south side or something like that. You'll still be able to use the parking lots over by the tennis courts and stuff like that. You may have to walk across the street to the stadium, or we will accommodate. All that type of stuff is all on the contractor to make sure that's taken care of. So it's not going to be perfect, but again, we will do our best to accommodate the surrounding areas.
Can you remind us, Adam, why this has been talked about for a long time, and just a reminder, because of the utilities that are there, this is going to help our overall utility grid, right?
Yeah, it makes improvements in the water sewer and also storm sewer. We've had failures on that road, storm sewer mostly, so what's underground is shot. And then, additionally, this is the utilities and the road grade is, from a condition perspective, we are not in a position where we can just repave and not replace underneath without, risking further failures. So, this is similar to State Street. The cost of the project is higher than just a traditional mill and overlay, but ultimately we're looking at correcting, doing the comprehensive rework and the comprehensive reconstruction. So, it's a little bit more overall. The engineering cost comes within the traditional percentage of what the overall project costs of 12 to 15%. And then the construction observation component, just to talk about that a second, because Dan mentioned it, we've asked him to put that up front. So when we get to the project, we're not looking at another number and being like, oh, okay, do we want to do this? So we're just being a little more proactive in getting that number in front of everybody, because the last thing we want is to build a project and not have somebody overseeing it and it being built wrong and not to the spec, or the connections not being made correctly, or the pavement not being the right depth.
I believe we would still need a motion for this item. If anyone would like to make that motion.
I'll make that motion for the engineering PSA for Wenceslaus Street reconstruction.
I'll second. Moved by Doug, seconded by Jonathan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving engineering PSA for St. Wenceslaus Street reconstruction project, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks.
Next item is sanitary sewer cleaning and televising proposal. I think I missed that.
It should be it's attached to it. It should have been attached to your packet.
Yep.
Speedy Clean. Might have been up front. I forgot two things on the agenda and then had to rework it, so I apologize for that, but it should be in there.
There we are. All right, so this is proposal by Speedy Clean Drain and Sewer in the amount of $67,380 we're on a 5-year cycle, so a fifth of the city?
Yep, so you can see in your packet, there's the proposal as well as the map of the 56,000 linear feet that we will be cleaning for sanitary sewer. So that's a clean and televise. This area was identified this year. We did the area kind of to the south in green the previous year. So we're on a 4 or 5 year rotation. The majority of this area, I believe, includes the state highway project. The state of Wisconsin has requested that we clean and televise that portion ahead of the planning for the 2030 project. That includes also in here approximately 10,000 linear feet of storm sewer along Highway 23. So that is an add-on. The state has requested the city do that in preparation for the project as well, to determine what level of repair or replacement is required during their project. So that's the overall proposal. We budget for this every year, so we're just bringing it forward. You can see the red where we're going to go, and happy to answer any other questions.
How often is this required?
How often is cleaning and televising required? We should be on a schedule every 5 years, be at least cleaning the system, maybe every cycle cleaning and televising. You don't necessarily need to televise every time. Last year we were here. Some of you may recall we hadn't been doing comprehensive cleaning and televising within the sanitary sewer for many years. So we are now on a 5-year rotation, 4 or 5 year rotation. and it is a part of our sewer compliance, maintenance and operations manual, or I don't know, plan, CMOM, that we are required to do this type of activity. So we're sort of continuing on with this in a different section. Next year, we'll budget and put another section in and just keep going through town. Thank you.
It says that the project will include a defect book. Have they been providing the defect book to us? Is that a standard thing they've been providing to us? And when we find a defect, what do we do about it?
I think this past year, we actually had to repair a couple sections that were problems. But ultimately, we collect that information. Ideally, we'd be putting it and logging it into our GIS system, and then using that information to create plans to influence our capital improvement plan. Just if we know that it's a bad road, we know that there's bad sewer, we know that there's some other component with water that's an issue, we have that information all logged. So obviously, a lot of the pipes under the ground are old and in somewhat rough shape. This helps prevent backups as well and helps us plan. So overall, we take the information and log it and put it into our planning.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
Why are we doing 23 this year?
What's that?
Why are we doing Highway 23 this year if we're 6 years away?
Because that's how long the planning starts. So the state of Wisconsin has requested that we do this year because they have hired their design contractor or design consulting, Mead and Hunt, to begin the process. So they want to know the condition of the stormwater utility facilities under. They need to know, the more we delay it, the more we risk not getting them accounted for or replaced in the project. They're not immediately going to, as crazy as it sounds, they're not immediately going to replace the storm sewer under the state highway without knowing its condition.
Okay, I was just concerned they were going to come back in 3 years and say this, we need an updated version, and then we're going to spend another $12,000.
No,
they'll be good with this one.
We'll be good. As far as I'm aware, Alan, I think it's not like the conditions are going to improve.
That is true. I just don't want to have to do it again.
If they were by chance to find an area that is believed to be good, but maybe we felt otherwise, we'd identify those small sections and maybe take another look in the future. But right now, it's all about, it takes that many years for a state project to go through the design process.
Okay, thanks.
You had the motion, Mr. Ray, right?
No.
No? Right. Okay. So many topics.
I'll make a motion to approve Speedy Clean for $67,380 to clean and televise the sanitary sewer and storm sewer.
I'll second that.
Been moved by David, seconded by Doug. Any further discussion?
So just real quick, the areas, oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was looking at the map, sorry. I was looking down.
That's all right.
And I didn't mean to. But there's some areas that it looks like it's not planned for in the future. That's because there's no storm sewer there, correct?
The red is only the area that is sanitary sewer. So in future years, the map will just change color to a different section that's red. We have no current plan to televise other storm sewer unless there's a failure or an emergency situation, but the red on the map is storm or sanitary sewer. The storm sewer happens to coincide with this map in that area. It's not mapped out, the sanitary, or sorry, the storm. Sorry, the storm is not on your map. That's why it's only 10,000.
This cost comes from our fees with the water and sewer charge?
Yep, sanitary
correct?
sewer, yep.
So it's not like, okay.
Every year we budget.
Yep, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the sanitary sewer cleaning and televising proposal, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. All right, next item is the 2023 tree removal proposals. Alan, do you want to take the lead on this one?
So when I came on board, Chris and the crews were working on a list of trees to remove. This list, as far as terrace trees go, are largely the trees on that. Those are 34 trees that they identified in their initial work list that we did not have equipment or the expertise to remove, primarily due to overall height or close proximity to other structures or other trees. In addition to that, we identified 8 parks trees that are dead and need to be put towards the top of the priority list. I believe 6 of those are at Ceresco, 2 are at Selfridge, and then we have 19 cemetery trees that we do not have the equipment or the skill to remove ourselves. Talking to both contractors, they will be using a combination of small cranes and lifts to remove those. Had the city acted on those in prior years, and I mean many prior years prior to today, they would have used climbers to rig and drop them. But now we're at a point where those trees are not safe, and so they have no choice but to bring in cranes and lifts to remove those. So with that, combination of removal and to grind the stumps and restore it, Gabe's top it or drop it was the low bidder. It did bid it out to a total of 4. One of the other 2 did reach out to me. They simply don't have the size of crews to take on a project of this magnitude without letting the rest of their work suffer. And the other company is in the Fox Valley that I've done work with elsewhere, and they chose not to bid.
Would you say that these 2 proposals are apples to apples?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Both are highly qualified. You couldn't, in my opinion, you could not go wrong with either.
In the cemetery part of it, I was in the Hillside Cemetery this weekend for the cemetery walk, and there's some huge trees there. What do they do to protect all the headstones, and do we take pictures beforehand so we can verify if there's damage or not?
One, I can attempt to take some footage. It's such a broad expanse, I don't know that we'll be able to do justice with that. Probably better off just to assign someone to be an observer, quite honestly. The way that they'll do it is, as they're using their equipment, they're going to be rigging and cutting and then carefully lowering. It's going to be a slow, tedious process. Talking to one of the contractors, the cemetery work is arguably going to take a similar amount of time as the other 2 elements by themselves. So it's a process that we will continue to incur as the mature trees there meet their demise. So.
Okay.
I looked at the proposals here, and Gabe's has set it up as a man-hour type deal here. And taking all those hours up and adding it up and then dividing it by the 4-man crew, we're looking at roughly 1 week of work per person, according to this.
Yeah, I asked him the same thing, that is the number of hours per crew member.
Oh, okay, so it's,
I initially thought that this was a 4-day job, and so that was one of the questions I asked this morning as I was putting together the report, and they said the party that put it together did not do justice to the description. That was per crew member.
okay. That would make a little more sense then. I'm just worried when we look into man hours, if that's how we're being charged is by man hours versus per tree.
No, it is a price per tree.
Okay.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve one of these bids?
I'll move to approve Gabe's Top It or Drop It for $93,550.
I'll second.
Been moved by Jonathan, seconded by Terry. Any discussion? Elaine?
So for the grind stump, and it says and restore, so does that mean planting perhaps grass or?
Correct. What they'll do is they'll bring in topsoil, they'll seed it and mulch it yet this fall. And because of the time of the year, the seed will not germinate until the spring. But we had discussion about that this morning also. If by chance the seed doesn't hold, they will come back and honor their work.
That's great.
So.
Now I saw that from the one that we're not going with, Trios, they said that this is only an estimate and that there could be increases, unforeseen costs, overall price.
Correct, yeah.
With Gabe's, I don't see that stated.
Correct.
Great.
I wouldn't have anticipated with Trios. That's a CYA statement that some contractors will use. You know, there might be some unforeseen circumstance that did not make itself presented when they went and looked. I do know that both companies went and looked at all the locations in doing the estimate. I met with Gabe's out in the field on a couple of the different sites that they had questions on. So Trios did make a phone call to me in the office to ask a couple of questions, so.
And I like your suggestion of having someone to look at making sure there's no damage in the cemetery.
I just have to identify that someone.
Yeah. But it sounds like, I mean, I think you've heard that that's
Lud's got some
important.
time available.
That's important though from our council, it sounds like, right? That will be
Yeah.
taken care of.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Represents in that one.
Do we need a friendly amendment to the motion that we do supply somebody to watch in the cemetery?
I believe that would just be part of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I'll just
Public
make,
Works.
I'll just make that part of our protocol for the cemetery work.
So that would be one of our own staff members.
One of our own staffs, or I'll reach out to somebody maybe on the Public Works Committee or
Sure,
something
volunteer.
like that. Yeah, so.
All right.
Okay,
There might
thank
be
you.
somebody on Liberty Street that's volunteering, I don't know.
I know who he's talking.
It's in our hood.
Yeah, it is in our hood.
It's our
yeah.
hood.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the proposal from Gabe's Top It or Drop It in the amount of $93,550, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next item is a summary budget publication and budget hearing resolution.
So in your packet, there is a resolution. So I will admit to the error of November 7th. We've been talking as the budget hearing. It will be November 14th. The first day of the month in November is a Wednesday, so it bumps it back to the 14th. So that just gets noted in here. What this essentially is stating is that you all agree with the presented budget and are notifying the public that it can be published, which is required, as well as the public hearing is then set. And then it has the property tax levy set at the $3,846,678. So that is ultimately the document that we're asking to get approved tonight. The budget itself, in terms of changes, we have been working through a few different things on the general fund side. So our goal was to reduce the tax levy allocation to the general fund by $50,000 to accommodate the desire of the council to have a tax rate between $8.90 and $9. So by reducing the 50,000 in a combination of revenues and cuts in expenditures, that results in a projected mill rate of $8.93. So there's flexibility there. So that's a 3-cent increase, minimal. Just for note, the school district is dropping their mill rate considerably, as well as the county is dropping their mill rate considerably. The reason for that is because of the valuation of our community and where it has gone in the city's growth and TIF districts closing. Okay, so we've already benefited from some of that, but they are now seeing the benefit of that, and the community will see the benefit of that in the taxation coming out of other jurisdictions. So that is all good news. Our mill rate, depending on our assessed value, our final statement of assessment, which we hoped to have by today, but we have an objection by an industrial party to their assessment from the state of Wisconsin, so we do not have our final statement of assessment. So the $8.93 is a estimate, and we may not have our final statement of assessment till November 13th. So the $50,000 buys us the ability to keep the mill rate in check with what we were guided to do. The final budget, depending on where it goes with our assessed value, we may be able to adjust that up or down. We will have communications with the council regarding that, either at the budget hearing or a presentation ahead of that. But ultimately, we are in a good spot right now. So the cuts we have made, if you go through the budget on page 1 right off the top, the allocation to the on page 1 here, there's an allocation of $90,000. I've highlighted it, it should be in gray as you follow through. $90,191. We dropped that allocation from the general fund to the capital improvement program by about $20,000. So that was the largest chunk of the $50,000. You then go to page 2, highlighted up top is the $50,000 reduction in tax allocation of $2,617,603. If you continue on to page, let's see here, to page 3, there's $15,000 in interest on investments, so that's higher than what we were budgeting before by around, I think, $9,000. And then there's also a $5,000 increase to miscellaneous revenue to $85,000, which mirrors approximately what we are experiencing in this calendar year. So overall, the revenues moved to $6,443,402. That is down from $6,479,402. So that's a little bit of a decline there by 36,000-ish. In terms of expenditures, nothing really on the majority of the pages here until we get to, a highlight somewhere. We tried to cut areas that we were not going to absolutely disrupt operations. So overall, we get to page 20. On page 20, there's a small reduction to the building inspection fees. I think it was 50,000. We dropped that down to 48 because of some of the calculation and how we look at that. So that was a minor $2,000 adjustment. We then go into the parks, or sorry, the public works budget in the streets division. There are 2 reductions in, we dropped $5,000 in forestry removals, which is up considerably, and then we dropped an additional We dropped $2,000 out of Alliant Energy lighting bills to $110,000. And then we also moved concrete pavement from $50,000 down to $45,000. All of those changes equate to a balanced budget. There was also a drop in the Superfund expense from $30,000 to $28,000 to be more in line with what we are experiencing. That gets us to basically a balanced general fund budget with the $50,000 reduction. The corresponding changes in capital have been accounted for. There's been additional notes made in the budget based on the previous discussion. Obviously, we are open to make any changes to the budget tonight that we will then account for in the summary budget publication. So if the council wants to see any changes in the total budget, we certainly can make those motions and make those changes tonight. At any level of the budget, so we're talking about not just general fund, we're talking about everything else. Nothing else in the budget from when we previously presented it a couple weeks ago has changed, but for what was noted tonight. And we talked about the water budget last week or a week and a half ago, that's in here. So now's the time to make any recommended changes. If you have any questions or don't want to, you still can change the budget up until the night of the public hearing on November 14th, but certainly to give staff time to accommodate changes. Now's better than the 14th, but we certainly understand.
Does anyone have any proposals for changes or discussion going?
Well, Adam, I know you have a pretty solid plan when it comes to economic development, and just going back to that. So I think that you have a plan as to the money that we have taken away from Envision Greater Fond du Lac, as to what you plan to do with that to benefit Ripon. And I support your plan, and I also think that Envision Greater Fond du Lac made some really good points about how our relationship can be valued. And I would just say that if you find that as you look at the budget in the next couple of weeks, if you think that you could use less and we want to restore some of that, I would personally be in favor of that. But I also understand that there's a certain vision here that of working together and why that money is being used. And so I just think it's something that I want to take note of, and especially as we look at next year's budget too, as to how we can strengthen this partnership and common understanding of how it serves Ripon.
It's certainly up to the council if they want to, if you all want to restore funding. We have a plan talking about a CDA. We're doing our own BRE. It's a business outreach program with the chamber. The CDA is arguably one of the most, if not the most effective economic development tool in our toolbox that we are currently not using, that Envision Greater Fond du Lac cannot offer programs similar to that. $16,000 to get things moving there. There's more money in this budget to allocate toward programs in that as they get developed, whether it be housing or downtown redevelopment, so on and so forth. So ultimately, there are a lot of programs, a lot of things that Envision Greater Fond du Lac does, there's no doubt. Some of them border on chamber, some of them border on economic development or, promotion, tourism development, all of that. So we haven't proposed a full cut. There has been varying levels of support from the county over history that, other communities have not funded. Ripon in particular had not funded Envision at a certain time for a certain period of time. So there is this precedent that has been set, I believe, just in my conversations with Ripon on this very issue, that a few years ago the relationship was very different and can evolve. That's the goal. The city is not against partnership, but we have a lot at stake in terms of where we need to go with economic development, with housing. And certainly we are open to conversations with Envision, but there needs to be, frankly, some more leadership, and there needs to be well-developed programming and priorities set from the county level to support the municipalities. And Envision's role in that, they have talked about trying to bring people together on housing, on, economic development issues like workforce and childcare. And those issues are increasingly falling still to my office and the city. So that is where we need those resources allocated, I think, in the coming, year to adjust and strengthen some of what we have to offer to address housing, to address, economic development locally. Certainly, we are open to partnership, programming, learning, all of that. That is not the goal here. The goal here is to address our needs. And we certainly respect everything that, as a staff, we respect the relationship, and we still will communicate with Envision, Greater Fond du Lac, and their staff. But the council ultimately makes the decision. And, our recommendation is just to try something and establish something different, because at a county level, it's not coming.
We're looking for a motion to set this date.
Yep, that could be a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the summary budget publication and budget hearing resolution set for November 14th, 7 p.m. 2023.
Second.
Roll call.
Moved by Doug, seconded by Terry. Any discussion on the motion?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Split.
Yes.
Sorensen.
Yes.
Gotsky.
Yes.
Brunert.
Yes.
Gallops.
Yes.
Schatzinger.
Yes.
Iverson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Very good. Moving on then to the review of the 2024 fee schedules.
We just do this ahead of the budget as well. Every year we pass a fee schedule in tandem with the budget. You see here, I know there's a typo, 2023, yeah, whatever, so we'll get that fixed.
20223.
Sorry, yeah. So overall, just looking at administrative fees, the majority have stayed the same. Ultimately, a lot of these are sort of outside of our control, but, pretty much have, pretty self-explanatory for what we're doing, zoning, all of that. So I don't think anything on the first page has changed. Doug?
I saw something that is a big increase. The Murray Park Diamonds, the Barlow Park Diamonds went from 0 to like $125.
We'll get there, 1 second, sorry.
right.
I'm on the wrong page too. So the first page, nothing necessarily changed. The one thing is we are instituting a parade permit fee. Usually it's free. We're charging $10. That basically covers administrative costs. It doesn't cover the cost of getting barricades and all of the work that goes into having a parade. We understand that costs money, but we're just looking at it more as an administrative, just dipping our toe in, because frankly, we have never changed or charged for that. Beyond that, no real change on any of the zoning, parking, anything like that. You move on to the rest are all weights and measures, which we have to work with Appleton. We move into Public Works. The biggest thing there is that there is the addition of, on some of the erosion and stormwater management, there's the note that plus the cost of engineering for review. So when we have a big project that comes in and it needs stormwater review by a professional engineer, say MSA, that fee gets attached to the overall fee, and those can get very costly. We haven't done that and noted that in the past, but it's a practice we've started just because we will lose a lot of money if we don't collect that fee. So other than that, no real change on it other than street privilege permit. We did move to $10 from $2 because it takes more time than $2. And that's just to, it's just.
Tell me what the street privilege.
Street privilege is like if somebody is doing construction work and they need a sidewalk closed or a street closed for a construction project. So, right? That's what that one is? Yeah. So Alan's charging $2, which he's really not charging anything because we're not collecting $2 from someone. It's not worth.
That is correct. I did not charge them $2.
It's just very outdated. And it's not like we give out 14,000 street privilege permits. The park rentals, yes. The established fee for the rentals there, that is new. Parks and Rec recommended that, establishing that. We hadn't set a fee in the past, so that is why that is there. As well as you see the 50% for nonprofit rentals. Parks and Rec wanted to make note that those individual parties that do not have an agreement with the city, so we have secondary agreements with the school district and like the youth baseball and softball, those that don't have the expectation to pay 50%, or in the case of some civic organization using a park for a picnic, they'll get a 50% reduction on the fee. So we just wanted to make note of that. Parks and Rec approved that concept previously. Some of the other stuff that we've gotten rid of there is just purely from a procedural perspective. We don't take deposits as much. We charge it out on credit cards, so we're not having to refund dollars. Any questions on parks?
Just on the field rentals.
Yeah, and that wasn't a fee, and now it is. And that's, we've had experience, like the Murray Park soccer fields, like other school districts are renting that space and are happy to pay that amount. They have no problem doing that.
Okay, so like for the youth league using the Murray Park, are they going to be needing to pay for that? Or?
They have a secondary agreement to use the facilities free of charge. So other organizations that have historically had an agreement in place to receive free fees will continue to do that. If not, they need to get in contact with us and enter an agreement like some others have.
When you say us, are you talking Parks and Rec, or are you talking?
The city. Yeah, I would contact Ashton, and she already talks to people about this, but ultimately, we're not looking to charge those that are helping contribute and give back, and that's ultimately where the agreements come in place with those second clubs and the school district, so on and so forth.
Is there a time limit on the street privilege? A week, 2 weeks?
I don't know what the ordinance says. Is there a time limit on
I don't need to answer now.
I don't, it does say in the ordinance, I don't know what it is, we made a special exception for the one down by the college. Due to the length of the project and the nature that they needed it as a lay down area because they didn't have adequate room in the college campus itself.
I'm just thinking of other scenarios that it could be closed off. If we don't have a time limit, it could be closed off for months.
It generally isn't that bad.
Okay.
So we try to keep it, I don't know what the ordinance even says, if it's supposed to be a temporary use, it's not supposed to be a permanent, so.
Most of them happen within hours without us knowing about it.
Yes. So.
But just a quick question for the shelter rental that, again, if families want to have an informal picnic, they can. This is though for reserved, you know.
I wasn't part of that conversation, I'll talk to Adam.
But I mean, my question is if somebody wanted to know when it was reserved, do they call Public Works? Is there a calendar online?
Oh, Parks and Rec does have a calendar online.
Parks and Rec through Rec Desk has every single facility. You can go on there, look at the schedule, reserve it for a period of time, pay for everything. It's all laid out. So it is way different than what we were doing a year ago.
That's right, okay, good.
In hopefully a good way. Like, you can see when people are using it, so. So there are EMS fee increases. There's a few of them that increased by about $100 across the fee schedule here. Those are being recommended by a rate study by LifeQuest, the billing company. Ultimately, we are limited on what we can collect. But ultimately, Mitch and I talked, some of them were recommended to be a little bit higher. We backed them off because we have increased fees there pretty aggressively over the last couple years. So just a couple of them have about $100 increase, the majority of which our calls barely reimburse that. And then shared taxi ride services, nothing we are going to change there. Water and sewer remains the same, as noting the water fees are passed by PSC. Although you are involved in that as a council, the PSC is the ultimate say on what water rates get charged out at. So those are just frozen for the year. There's no projected increase, but we'll reflect those changes when the PSC approves our rate case. Other than that, police department stayed the same.
Can you remind me why we have a dance fee?
A dance fee?
Under business license fees?
Because people dance. It's an outdated, likely ordinance-driven fee that Naomi has to likely issue, and there's no one
I
issue.
think boost every application I
No, I don't think we actually issue any, right?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I do, yeah. Most of the employees do.
Yeah.
I have paid that license fee.
Not my current business.
I have an overarching question. So you're saying like the cost is, I don't know, just pick one you said, like cover the administration fees. So here's my question being, if all of our, city employees, like the administration fees at a budget level are going up 3 to 8%, depending on what pay goes up, like viably, shouldn't all of these go up 3 to 5% every year? Or do we address that every 5 years, just like we were doing now with, water tower, right? And we do a big jump then.
Your point is a very good point. Ultimately, it comes down to volume of permits. We're not doing a ton of permits in terms of some of these numbers. The ones you really need to focus on keeping in line are going to be your major permit fees for building permit costs, all of that. We weren't changing, for example, for a parade permit, right? It's $0. It takes us maybe an hour, or not even that, 15, 20 minutes to get it in, talk to somebody about it, and then sign it. And, there's paper costs. Should we be looking at that? Yeah, but some of these also are community functions. There's a balancing act that we have to look at and say, do we want to raise park fees? Do we want to raise permit fees for parades and fun activities that organizations are benefiting and the community as a whole is benefiting from? So, I think we have to be careful on some level to just automatically get into that habit. We need to be more strategic about it, like ambulance should be looked at annually. Taxi we should be looking at as things come in. But ultimately, just approving a 5% increase every year for every permit, I don't know if that's a big gain for the city, but certainly we can address it if the council chooses.
Terry?
2 questions. First question is insufficient funds return checks is set at $30. Typically, isn't the bank set a little higher than $30? Shouldn't?
No, it's 30.
They're at 30 now? Okay. But they're a little bit higher than. Second question is what permit are reissuing for a person that wants to, let's say, have a garage sale or a yard sale, or do we not do that? Okay.
We aren't chasing around garage sale signs.
No, I mean, some cities do, some cities don't, and I just want to make sure that.
No, I got you.
That I didn't see it on here, so just making sure.
Yep.
Questions on the fee schedule, or would anyone like to make a motion? Are we, no motion tonight, we're just
Reviewing, yep.
presenting. So no motions tonight, this comes up with the budget. So if you have any questions that crop up, contact Adam before the next meeting. Any further questions tonight, though? All right. Next item is, again, just a discussion for tonight to be brought back up in a future meeting. Just time for you guys to think about it. Discussion on fireworks requests from Ripon Fest. They have requested, you have a letter in your packet, that the city moves their city display from the 4th of July, or the 3rd of July. We're on the 4th. We used to be on the 3rd. From the 4th of July to coincide with the Saturday night of Ripon Fest. This is to benefit their event, as well as, just give you my opinion here, this pros and cons if we do this. If we move it to Ripon Fest, it benefits Ripon Fest, gets them a bigger draw, hopefully keeps the festival alive for years to come. It also puts the fireworks on a night that no other city is doing them, so it could bring in outside people that would otherwise have gone to Green Lake or Oshkosh or Madison to see a bigger fireworks show. However, the con would be if we move our event fireworks off of the 4th, which is a prime night, the likelihood of getting it back to the 4th if Ripon Fest ever dissolves or stops wanting the fireworks with their event is very slim. So if we move from the 4th, we're probably never going to get it back.
With our current
vendor. And most vendors are pretty busy on the 4th. So it could cost a lot to get that back. So this is up for discussion.
Ripon Fest is here.
Oh, okay.
Is there a cost benefit of moving it like off the prime day, like from the vendor we're using?
I don't believe there is. Ellen?
I would like to, I first of all would like to compliment Ripon Fest on reinvigorating a community festival. That said, the 4th of July is a national holiday. And one of the reasons the fireworks moved to the Murray Park area, because I'm old enough, I remember when they were done at Barlow Park, is it's higher ground and people can see it from all over the city. But I think more importantly, we need to remember that we have 3 facilities in the area with elderly folks. If the fireworks move to Barlow Park, that densely populated area with people who many times don't have any transportation will not be able to enjoy 4th of July fireworks. They won't be able to see them. We don't have a taxi service or bus services that can move that many people down to Ripon Fest. And by attracting more people to Ripon Fest, you're going to have people, there's no parking to accommodate them. So it would be difficult to try to move hundreds of elderly people down there too to enjoy that. I don't relish the idea of removing a national holiday to celebrate our independence from folks whose shoulders we stand on because of their service to their community and nation.
And just for recent history, not to counter your argument, but just a benefit for the Ripon Fest. Last year before, when there was a rain delay for the 4th, we did move the fireworks to Barlow Park, which did, I believe it coincided with the Ripon Fest weekend. And that was well regarded by people in the area.
Have you ever heard the fallout when it's moved from Murray Park?
Yes, I have heard.
And it's okay to have a contingency plan, except this would be prior to the 4th.
Honestly, when it moved to Barlow for that one event, I heard positive and negative from both sides. At both people that didn't like it at Murray were happy that it was gone. People that didn't like it at Barlow were upset that it moved there, and vice versa. So someone is always going to be unhappy with where and when it will be. And I had heard all 4 arguments in 1 week for that particular year. And we do have a couple of people from Ripon Fest here. If you'd like to step forward and speak or answer any questions that the council may have.
My name is Howard Stibb. I'm on the committee for Ripon Fest, and I was sort of chosen as a spokesperson for Ripon Fest to come. 2 years ago, yes, Mayor, you were right. That's because of the rain that came on the 4th of July. It was held on Ripon Fest weekend. Ripon Fest is changing this year due to the fact that we had to change for a carnival. Because of last year, or this year I should say, there was 5 weekends in the month. The carnival that we had from up in Michigan, they scheduled 5 different events and they were able to do it. But because of next year only having 4 weekends, Ripon Fest was the bottom on the totem pole for when it came time to get them to come back again. We have re-signed a contract with Spectrum Carnival. They will be coming, but the weekend that they have is the last weekend in June. So we're now doing, I believe it's the 27th, 28th, and 29th, or that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And they said it would be best if we had a fireworks show, if we could do something like that. So we wanted to propose it to the city and see if they were interested in co-sponsoring the fireworks and doing it on Ripon Fest. Everybody, it seems, throughout the Fox Valley has fireworks on the 4th of July. And you don't really get the crowd coming over here because Green Lake has got it out on the lake. And a lot of people like to go there. Appleton has a big fireworks. Madison's got their Rhythm and Boom one. They've had that for years where it coincides with one of the radio stations down in Madison. We felt that if we could move it ahead of the 4th of July, you could bring more people into the community. They could still celebrate the 4th of July coming up. And if you listen as time goes along, and Troy Damsty can actually be one to attest to this too, people don't wait until the 4th of July to fire off all kinds of fireworks. It's happening sometimes 2 weeks before, and it actually goes a month afterwards. So people do forget of when the real 4th of July is and what the real purpose of it is. So we were looking at if we could do in conjunction with the city, do it during Ripon Fest. You may get people from outside the area coming in. They're going to see what this community does as a whole. And you might get more people coming here on a more regular basis. You may have more people shopping. You may have people that are interested in moving to this area because a lot of people want to get out of the bigger cities. So this could be a benefit. And Ripon Fest, our committee has decided too that if the city were willing to go along with doing joint fireworks, we would contribute $3,000 into paying for the fireworks. That's just what we had come up with and were thinking of to do it. And different people, I wasn't able to because I had a bunch of complaints that I was handling of fireworks going on around through the town. But from people that I talked to, it seemed like the fireworks up in Murray Park this year was not really enjoyed as much as what it was in past years. The participation wasn't there from the general public. That some of the people that live right up in Murray Park said normally they couldn't get in and out of their driveways because there were so many cars and so many people. This year they had nobody and they only lived a block away from the park. So they felt that it really wasn't enjoyed as much as what it could be in the past. So we figured if we could do it ahead of time, we can draw more people into the area too. Parking, I don't think would be any more difficult for going to Barlow Park as what it is Murray. You've got plenty of side streets there, and it's somewhat close. So you really shouldn't have anything of an issue that way. And the park is big enough. The only disadvantage is, yes, you have Russell Manor, you have the nursing home and assisted living and like that, and Willowbrook, where them people aren't going to see it. And that's a drawback. I realize that. And yes, I'm at the age too where I remember Barlow Park. I remember the fog show that one year too.
I remember.
But that's more than 5 years ago. So, but that's where we're looking at. That's the reason why we wanted to come and give it to you for a discussion tonight. And if there was any questions, we wanted to be present so that you could ask us questions rather than not having answers and stuff like that, and then just going to another meeting and really not having a good idea as to what we were intending to doing. So that's my spiel. If there's any questions, I'm more than willing to entertain them.
I like that you're thinking about how to bring the community out and to really make Ripon Fest something that we can really continue to be proud of. So I like that you're thinking creatively about that. As far as the date goes, this date I know well because it's my wedding weekend, but also the last weekend in June is often Ripon College Alumni Weekend, and I don't remember Ripon Fest in my memory ever falling at the same time.
No, it was always held the second weekend in July.
So just to be sure, so this is a big change as far as, not that you should plan it around Ripon College Alumni Weekend, but I mean, that's an event that brings in a lot of people, and I guess I don't see.
It gives them one more activity to do along the way. And like I say, the reason that we had to do that and change to that end of June was because of the carnival that we had. And through this area, even in the Midwest, there's only 7 carnivals available. And most of them are already booked up. It is hard getting a carnival. And without a carnival, the whole event really, it doesn't draw in a whole lot of people. And we're looking at it, we're not trying to be like the old Ripon Fest days. That's gone and all by the wayside. We're making it more family orientated, and it's been roughly 5 years now that it's been going on. And it's been a lot more calmer compared to what the old Ripon Fest was. That we're not promoting some of the beverages and stuff like that. We provide beverages, but it's not promoting that to promote the rest of Ripon Fest. It's a family activity. We want the parents, we want the kids, we want them to all have a good time.
So do you imagine the parade being around that time too?
Can I add to that? So we are moving the parade to Sunday of that. That was the original date before, where we used to have the original Ripon Fest. It was always on Sunday. Our parade was Saturday the last 4 years. And let me add, the last 4 years we've had 0 police instances with any drunks or any big, it's no longer drunk fest like it used to be. So it's more family oriented, and that's why I want to add additional things like the fireworks, and like you did bring up, it's alumni weekend, which is a good thing. There's more people here in town, that can add to that. But if you look at some of the other events that we have in the community, a lot of the events are dying or fizzling out or are no longer being held. We don't have very many events as far as stuff like this in town any longer than we used to when I was a kid. A lot of things going on, and things are really kind of fizzling out. It's hard to get volunteers, it's hard to get things going. We got the ball rolling here, but we need city involvement, community involvement as well. So.
And we're looking at moving the parade to 11 o'clock on a Sunday. We feel because Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, a lot of people are working yet, or kids have other activities. So the parade wasn't really well received. We didn't have all that many spectators there. So our committee decided after this last year of Ripon Fest that we're going to do it on Sunday instead. We feel after church is over, after everybody has gone to services, they may want to come out then right away. So it's a way to do it differently. So we're looking at drawing more people that way too. And with the car show that we have, that's going to pull more in as time goes along too.
And that would be the 30th you're talking then, June 30th?
Yeah, if that's a Sunday, yes.
Yep.
That's when it would be.
Not all churches out by 11, but I understand the idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
John?
I don't really have a question for you, it's just my opinion, that I agree with Ellen on the 4th of July is national holiday, 4th of July is the time to celebrate. And the big thing for me is the assisted living and Russell Manor for those people to partake in it and see it also. So in my opinion, I would leave it as is on the 4th at Murray.
Just going to play devil's advocate here. Part of the funding for this does come from the room tax dollars. Is that correct?
Correct.
So strictly on an analytical basis, having it with Ripon Fest would drive more room stays to redevelop, in my opinion.
We're already going to have them because of the fact that you got
It's alumni weekend.
Alumni weekend.
In this particular case, that may be nullified by the fact that the hotels are already full.
Yep.
But bringing people in for each day, Saturday, then parade on Sunday, and then 4th of July on, is it Thursday? Something like that, just a couple days. Now you have 3 different events, which could bring people in on
I
each
highly
time.
doubt our fireworks show is bringing people to our hotels on the 4th, because there's so many other places they could be working.
There are hotels are going to be full on alumni weekend.
Yeah, it's
And
hard
that
to find
it fills up Green Lake. They go Green Lake, Oshkosh,
Yeah.
Ripon.
My argument works better if it were still the second weekend of July.
So you're saying your argument doesn't work?
I was just playing devil's advocate. I am not arguing one way or the other, I was just laying out.
Yes.
So ultimately, the budget line item is around $8,500. That has gone up over the years because of just the cost of fireworks. We do take donations. There are businesses that do donate to the tune of a couple $1,000s in total to a few $1,000s depending on the year for the 4th of July fireworks. Ripon Fest has said they will kind of hold the city harmless by contributing $3,000 to the fireworks. So ultimately, we're not paying a ton for fireworks. So this has been proposed, certainly. This is for discussion. Certainly, if we want to bring it back for a final vote, I can do research on some of the things, because in the past, the conversation with our current fireworks vendor was if you move off of the 4th of July, it'll be hard to get that back. Doesn't mean that we can't, doesn't mean that, but it's something that I would just double check before, as well as just if we want to make the 4th of July or make the fireworks maximize for our community, I would recommend that we invest in that one way, shape, or form to make it more meaningful, because at this point, we're just setting off fireworks. It is a large expense, arguably one of the most biggest wastes of money, but ultimately a very big community thing, right? So we understand that. Whatever we do, the goal from my perspective is we need to elevate it. If that's with Ripon Fest or Independence Day, we want to work on that.
It would seem that you need public input, and so it's on here for discussion.
Yes.
Well,
I think you certainly want to get it out in the paper, and you want to get some response from the public.
Yes,
in terms
but
of the
there's
interest.
also another alternative in which perhaps you do an abbreviated fireworks for Ripon Fest and continue to do fireworks here. It would cost more money, and see if maybe someone's willing to help Ripon Fest co-sponsor or help the city co-sponsor. I mean, it doesn't have to be either or. There's always another alternative.
Question for Ripon Fest. You're changing the date for 2024 because of when the carnival is available, correct?
Yes,
So-
We have a locked-in date, I believe, last.
So then,
We're going to have a 3-year contract with the carnival people, that it would be the last weekend in June, for at least the next 3 years.
okay, so it's for the next 3, and then after that, we're back to what, then we don't know. So it's at least 3 years that we'd be able to, if you're going to change the date, do it. But then there's no guarantees after
The owner
that.
of the carnival, he's very receptive to keep going with us if we can provide him with a good venue, which was done this last year for his first year.
Okay.
And he had talked that he's more than willing, he only signs 3-year contracts. So at the end of the second year, we could go back just like any sports athlete, where you go to the second year, now you go for an extension, we may be able to talk them into another couple and then just keep going from there. So the 3 years possibly will not end, where we'll be able to keep going longer with it yet, but that's what the carnival people, that's usually what they go with. That's their standard policy.
Okay.
Dylan?
So if the community thought that it was best to stay the second weekend in July, what I'm hearing is that ship has already sailed. There's already a contract that's been signed, and so it will be the last week in June because of the carnival.
Correct, and there's only so many carnivals left. COVID-19 wiped out the majority of the smaller carnivals. We're a smaller town, so we can't afford the large, huge carnivals, the big ways. So this is the only alternative we have, and if we end up getting rid of a carnival, there's no longer going to be a Ripon Fest. Once you add that carnival aspect to it, and you take that away, there's really no big draw any longer, so we kind of had to do what they put out in front of us as far as their alternative weekend.
But I do like thinking about the room tax. How can we bring people in, but if our hotels are already filled, again, but to your point, there really is no more discussion as to a different date or keeping it on the current date. That ship has sailed.
For the most part, I would imagine.
Yes.
The hour's getting late, and we're not gonna settle this tonight. Can we put this on for?
No, this was just discussion. We're not making any
Can we put this on
motions.
for further discussion?
Yeah.
Maybe in
And-
December, after we get the budget to bed and deal with that. I mean, it's been a very good discussion. I appreciate what Ripon Fest has talked to us about, but.
And I anticipate the newspaper will
Right.
cover this
I think we need to hear
discussion.
from the public, so-
And now it's time for you to talk to your constituents and get an
I think
idea of
Ellen's
what the
right.
people
There's
want.
a possibility we could do, two fireworks, but we have to work that out.
Yes, so.
But also that means we should have a concurrent discussion with firework vendors as to what their availability is, right? You know, if we wait months, maybe their dates aren't, I don't know. Probably we should have a discussion.
contract for next year?
Not until next year.
Okay.
Save some time on that.
Yeah, there's plenty of time. I would need to give them a heads up though if we, just get a feeler out to them if a change would be necessary. Ultimately, is there a way to, within the restructure of some of the allocation of the room tax fund, is there an opportunity to say, give a grant to Ripon Fest to hold their own fireworks show and use their $3,000 coupled with dollars from the city to have fireworks? We'd be having 2 shows in a matter of 5 days, but that's an opportunity. So I think we just need to process through this and think about it a little bit and get feedback.
The last thing I'll just say that I realize is probably unpopular, but no one says it, is that, as we think about potentially expanding fireworks, these are one of the worst things for the environment that we could ever think of as humans. And so I know it's part of our tradition. I'm not advocating we take rid of fireworks, but when we think about adding more fireworks on different days, that does make me nervous. And I know people with pets, it's also another night for them with the loud bangs. So I think that's a delicate conversation as well.
All right, so talk to your constituents, see what we can come up with a consensus at a future meeting. Is our last agenda item, are the project updates and staff reports? Finance?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Alan just stepped up. Naomi, you have anything?
I just have one little tweak off what Adam said. The only difference I want to make sure that it's said to the public is the dangerous dog license will be going up from 15 to 20.
Oh, sorry.
So that is a difference for people that have the dangerous dogs. And that's because we have to do the special collars, the price of the collars goes up, so we need to be able to cover our cost.
So we are adjusting
So
with inflation.
inflation. Easy adjusted.
Lies, Adam.
All right, Adam?
Just a reminder, tomorrow night, 5:30, for the strategic planning session.
That all?
Yep.
All right. I have nothing special for tonight. Any future agenda items or comments from the council?
Are we gonna bring back the pool cover?
Working on it.
Anyone else? Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Moved by Doug, seconded by Terry. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned at 9:30.